Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Secretary Cardona, we spoke last year, and I want to follow up with some of what we talked about last year, but let me start with just making sure that those in my East Texas district are aware of this new Title IX rule that's being proposed by the Biden administration. On April 29th, 2024, this new regulation was published, and this final rule dramatically, in my opinion, changes the existing Title IX regulations. It weakens protections for women and girls and dilutes due process protections for those accused of sexual harassment as defined under the regulations. The rule also expands the definition of sex to include gender identity, as you well know. This is going to result in the removal of female-only spaces for women and girls, effectively forcing them to share bathrooms and showers with biological males. It's atrocious, in my opinion. I want to go back to what you said last year when we talked. I asked you specifically about local control, and you stated, quote, when I was at the local level and even at the district and state level, I prefer that those decisions be made at the local level. That's where it should be. That's exactly what you said. Those were your words. You also went further last year and you said, quote, you are working with local school boards to make sure we are staying in our lanes. Our country was designed to have local control. Frankly, I was shocked that you would tell me that last year, given the overreach of the Department of Education. I was glad that you said that. And so now I have even more problem with what's going on, not in the words that you gave last year, but in the actions of the Department of Education, and in particular in this new rule. Do you still stand by those statements that you made last year?
Absolutely.
All right. Having stood by those statements, I'm going to tell you what my districts back home are telling me. I've got two letters I want to introduce. Madam Chairwoman, I ask for unanimous consent to introduce into the record an April 30th, 2024 letter by Tyler ISD, which is my largest school district.
Without objection.
I also ask for unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter from Van Independent School District dated May 7th, 2024.
Without.
I'll tell you some of the statements that are made by the superintendent to me as it relates to this Title IX atrocious rule. Talks about it being constitutionally overreaching and an illegal edict that is so offensive to our daughters, wives, and mothers. That's one of the statements that he makes to me on the local level. And I can assure you the rest of my school districts share that opinion. Also says in this letter that it is an inexcusable federal assault toward girls and women that has no place in schools. That's what the local communities in Texas, in East Texas, where I represent, what they think about the Title IX letter. From Van Independent School District, it says in their letter, the changes to Title IX forces schools to treat boys as if they were girls and to accept every student's self-declared gender identity. And I've said before, and I say it again today proudly, I say that I believe men and women were created by God with equal and eternal value, but very different, very different. And it's not up to us to try to change that identity in our humanity. Do you agree with that or you disagree with that?
Thank you for the opportunity to respond. I want to correct some of the provisions under Title IX. It's creating greater protections. You mentioned that it.
I asked you about my statement. Do you agree or disagree with the statement that I made about our Creator creating men and women differently but equally?
I can tell you what, as a school principal too, that I do believe in local control, but I don't believe that it's my responsibility.
We covered local control last year. I'm asking you a very specific question about the creation by God of men and women and whether or not they are equally but differently created.
It's my responsibility to protect all students, not just the one that some people pick and choose.
Well, this is, that should be an easy question. We've seen this before. People sit before our panel. We've seen it with the college presidents here recently, where there are moral truths, there are moral foundations that seem very evident to a lot of folks that people that somehow sit in your chair cannot answer directly. It's atrocious, in my opinion. I want to end my statement today because this is Teacher Appreciation Week by saying this, because I do appreciate all of the hard work that all of our teachers across this United States actually does for our students day in and day out. In the state of Texas, there are well over 300,000 teachers that serve our 5 million students. I've met with a lot of teachers across my district, and just like you said last year, they don't want the federal government telling them how to do their job and what their job is. It's unfortunate that this administration continues to do just that and issue rules and regulations that are contrary not just to local control, but frankly, morality. With that, I yield back.